Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. Welcome back to DubLife Diaries. Now, most people dream about dropping everything, buying an old Volkswagen bus, or at least if you're listening to this podcast, you do, and disappearing down an open road. But there's actually very few people in life that are really going to do it, okay? Today's guest has spent more than a year proving that adventure doesn't require a brand new RV, a six-figure budget, or the perfect plan. All it takes is a 1962 Volkswagen panel bus, maybe a little bit of willingness to embrace the unknown, and absolutely the courage to keep on driving. She's so cool. She bought her first air-cooled Volkswagen at just 16 years old. That decision alone quietly shaped the rest of her life. Today, she has explored some of America's most breathtaking places, from the legendary Going to the Sun Road in Glacier National Park to remote national forests, BLM campsites, whitewater rafting adventures, and Volkswagen campouts all across the country. This isn't just a story about road trips. She's also a talented artist, a hand painter, a pinstriper, whose artwork has actually become part of this culture. She's built an annual Volkswagen campout that's bringing enthusiasts together year after year. This conversation today is going to be about freedom, about creativity, about community, and about why sometimes the slowest vehicle on the road actually creates the richest life imaginable. So, buckle up, because today we are riding shotgun with somebody who's proven that life isn't measured by the miles on the odometer. It's measured by the stories that you collect along the way. I am joined today by Vanessa Cassada. This is DubLife Diaries, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That's quite the introduction there.
You're welcome. That's all you. That's all you. You seem like you're pretty awesome. Thank you for registering.
Yeah.
Thank you for going through the process. I know it's not easy to volunteer to have a conversation or to be a public display like this, but I try to make it as easy as I can for you guys, for guests in the Volkswagen community, by providing you with an outline and really trying to take the edge off. So really, that's what this is, just a conversation. Before we dive into this conversation, let me go ahead and give a quick shout out to some of my sponsors. You guys know, first up on the list, Volksmania magazine. You know how I feel as well. Flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. These guys gave me a shot when I was really just looking for some advertising. So I try to rep them every chance I get. Volksmania.com. You can use DubLife10 at checkout, DUBLIFE, the number 10 at checkout. You'll get 10% off your subscription. Also, shout out to Salty Dub. From the beach to the bay, Salty Dub's tearing up the west coast of Florida. But man, I'm excited to announce this today. Just today, Alan and myself, we went to the fairgrounds in Tampa, the Florida State Fairgrounds, to talk to them about an event we're going to organize for the summer of 2027. I'm saying it here for the first time because we just posted about it today. We are going to do an indoor, you heard that right, an indoor camping event that's going to be massive. We got room for like 350 cars. It's going to be indoor. We're going to set up large TV screens and watch movies, and it's going to be really, really cool because it's hot as shit in the summer. And it's going to be just epic because we're all going to be indoor in the AC. How different, right? It's going to be super different, but everybody's going to be in their cars and in their dubs, and it's going to be dope. So there it is. But we got all kinds of other stuff, swag, events. Check out the website, saltydub.com. Same discount code applies, DubLife10. Last shout out, and then it is back to you, young lady, is Vera Upholstery of St. Pete. Check these guys out. When I say epic builds, I mean it. Just go to their website, check out their Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you can follow them on social media. Do it. Alan is putting out some awesome work. He's got the new automotive line. They are doing some very, very, very serious show-winning, award-winning interiors, not just in boats, in cars, and they are on fire with production. So check those guys out, veraupholstery.com. All right, back to you. You ready?
Ready.
All right. Let's dive in. All right. Let's dive into some of these questions. For people discovering you for the first time, who is Vanessa Cassada beyond the Volkswagen world?
And I feel like you really kind of covered a lot of it in the introduction. Outside of Volkswagens, I love being outdoors. I love hiking, whitewater rafting, paddleboarding, sailing. I love art, as you mentioned. I do hand painting, so I enjoy doing that. Just really anything that I can kind of be active in, I really thoroughly enjoy.
What is it about Volkswagens you think that kind of captured your attention? I know you say you bought your first one when you were 16.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking back as I was preparing for this podcast, like what was it so many years ago? And I have a vivid memory. I was visiting my cousin who lived in a different state and I hadn't seen him for many years. He's like 12 years older than me. So he already had this great car collection by the time I was 16. He was well into his 20s. So I'm visiting him and he's taking me around his house, showing me he had quite a variety. It wasn't just like only Volkswagens, a bunch of different things. And then we got to his garage and he opens the garage doors and there sat this plum purple 19, I can always forget if it's 65 or 67, which I should know this, but plum purple Beetle. And it was like lowered, chrome rims, chrome bumper, just super like all done up. And I was like, that thing is gorgeous. I was always into cars and stuff. So it really caught my eye. And then I noticed he had a for sale sign on it. And I'm like, this is for sale? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'm going to buy that. I want that. And I think he kind of was like, you're 16. Like, you don't have any money. I had already bought my first car. And I was like, just give me like a couple of months. I'm going to buy this from you. And so, sure enough, like a couple of months later, I went and got a loan from the bank. My parents co signed for me and I bought the car from him. And it was like, I had no idea at that moment what that would do in my life. Like you were mentioning in the introduction, I had no idea what that meant for me, like up till now. And it just really started as like, oh, that's a cute car. I didn't know anything about Volkswagens. I didn't even know the different models. Like all I knew was the Beetle. So something about it just kind of hooked me. And then as I got into the community over the years, it's just kept me coming back again and again and again.
Probably never imagined, though, even for a second, that one day you'd be living on the road in a vintage bus doing your thing.
Absolutely not. I actually didn't even know buses were a thing for years. Like fast forward many years, all I knew was the Beetle, and I would take it to car shows and have fun with it. And then I found out about buses. I'm like, oh, those are pretty cool. And then I found out people camp in their bus, and I was like, what? People camp in these things? That's amazing. I remember the first time I saw a single cab, I didn't know that was actually a Volkswagen vehicle. I thought somebody took a bus and in their backyard, like cut it up.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that's how
awesome.
little I knew.
Yeah,
And
that's
then I
great.
like it just this whole world opened up. Yeah, definitely. I honestly think at the time, I don't even think it. I thought it would go past that one car. I thought like, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this car for however many years, and then I'm gonna grow up and life's gonna happen, and who knows what.
So, what does freedom look like for you today compared to maybe back then when you bought that first Volkswagen?
Freedom back then, turning 16, even though it wasn't my first car, technically, it still was like a sense of freedom. I have a car. I can go where I want to without my parents. I can go to the movies, see my friends. But now freedom kind of a similar sense. Like the car just gives you that opportunity to get on the road and go where you want to go. You're going to see places that you don't even know exist until you get there. And not just the big hitters, the big parks, but the small back roads, the tiny towns, like driving through towns with a population of 200 people. Or we stopped a week ago in this town. I think it was Chalice, Idaho, if I remember correctly. I went into this steakhouse and saloon. The population on the sign, I always like read the populations when we drive by because I find it fascinating, these tiny little
Sure.
towns. It
Heck
was
yeah.
like 900 and something. And we go in for lunch. It was us and like two other tables. The rest of the place is empty because it's Tuesday at noon. And we're sitting there having lunch and we overhear the waitress talking to the table like next to us. And you could clearly tell like everybody knows everybody. And they knew we weren't from there the moment we walked through the door. And she's saying, oh, yeah, we got this new truck. You probably saw it. If you drove out of town on that road, did you see that truck sitting there? Yeah, that's the truck we bought. I was like, this
Dang.
is incredible. Just like these little moments that really don't mean anything, but they also like really kind of open your eyes to
Yeah, they really
a
mean
lot of
everything.
people's.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 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 Crazy, man. So, and I kind of I relate to that quite a bit actually, because like I said, I spent a number of years out in Colorado myself, 9 years. And, my wife and I, with all of our kids, we homeschool and well, we did. Most of them are finishing high school now. One of them's long gone, already starting in her career, which is turning 21 in December. But we've traveled a lot and not in a bus, not in a vintage bus, but just hearing these small stories about, population and stopping in these small, kind of hole in the wall restaurants. They brought some of the best experiences and memories for us as a family. And just, stopping at the little stream on the side of the highway, that you come to find out that, that little river that you were swimming next to has, super dangerous snakes and all kinds of stuff in it, right? But it just adds to just the whole experience and the story. But yeah, man, I relate to it. I love traveling myself. When people hear that you are traveling the country in a 1962 panel Volkswagen bus, I don't know, man. Like, what do they say? Like, what's the first question they ask you?
I feel like there's a couple of first questions depending on the type of person that's there. Oftentimes they're like, "Oh, you towed it," and I'm like, "No, drove it." And then they're just shocked. They're like, "What? You drove that?" And they're like, "Okay." The other question is always like, "Well, what do you do for work?" Or "How do you afford this?" That kind of a thing. When they find out you're like on the go constantly.
Let's touch on that. How do you answer those two questions? What do you do for work? And right, how do you afford to be able to have a life on the road? Because I'm sure anybody tuned into the podcast probably wants to know as well.
Yeah, there's no secret to it. It's a little bit of work and saving. So work quite a bit and save up some money. I was working remotely up until about a month ago, 2 months ago, and I recently quit my job and I'm exploring some other things on the side. My husband does travel healthcare, so
Oh, cool.
he'll take a contract, and so we'll stay somewhere for maybe 13 weeks and he works and we're saving
Oh,
as much as
yeah.
we can and then try to take off the summers to go have fun.
What's your husband's name?
Adam,
Adam. Where's Adam tonight?
yeah. He's sitting right over here.
What's up, Adam?
He can't hear you, but he says,
Oh,
"What's
okay.
up, Adam?"
All
He
right.
says, "Hey." I got my earbuds in so he
That's
can't
right.
hear
That's
what you're
right. I'm
saying. Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, I'm all
it's all
inclusive.
good.
If he wants to come say
Yeah.
hi, he's more than welcome to.
All right. You're welcome to say hi if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's touch on falling in love with Volkswagens because we touched on it a little bit. We talked about the first one, but I kind of want to know, like, as a teenager, I actually owned one myself at 17, fresh out of high school. It wasn't my first car either, but I bought my first Volkswagen was in 96. It was a 72 standard Beetle and it had the auto clutch. I tell this story all the time. A little old lady sold it to me for 2 grand. Only had 70,000 miles on it. It was a great car. It was my favorite car I've ever owned. I got pictures of it. I still think about it all the time. It was such a cool experience and it taught me a lot. Looking back then, I worked at Jiffy Lube and I changed oil and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know a lot about air-cooled cars, air-cooled culture, air-cooled really anything, right? So it taught me a lot about myself, about patience, about resilience, about breaking down and not giving up. I mean, I had this kind of this motto in my life, especially as I grew even past that car, where if a car ever broke down on me and left me stranded, I was getting rid of it. It's like, rah. But I never felt that way about any of my dubs because like it's almost like they're going to leave you hanging. So it's like built in, right? But I want to know from you, what did owning an air-cooled Volkswagen at 16 kind of teach you as a young teenager?
I think it definitely taught me some of that patience that you're talking about because that first Beetle that I had, I always had issues with it. It was so undependable. I had tons of issues with the brakes. I remember one time I was like so over the brakes not working and they kind of half worked, but I was determined to drive it somewhere that night. So I e-braked it the entire way, like down the interstate and all the accident. I was just using the e-brake the whole way there because I was so sick of not driving it because it was always breaking down on me. So I guess it taught me like, I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, all of us that have driven a stick shift Beetle, when the brakes fail or you're having issues with your brakes at all, we all know what's up with the e-brake lever.
Yes,
I was just
at
kind of
least it's
vibing
very
with you.
convenient.
Yeah, I was just
It's
vibing with you.
very,
That's the only
yeah.
way we stop sometimes.
That pretty much got me there at home that night. Yeah. So just kind of taught me like it doesn't always have to be perfect to enjoy it. Just kind of go with the flow, enjoy it, and expect the unexpected at times. You never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, super cool. That's the vibe though, right? That's the vibe. That's the culture. That's the lifestyle. Go with it. Roll with it. Nothing doesn't have to be perfect. And I think getting back into it, I took probably 12, almost 15 years away from the scene to raise my kids and, commit to a life of a career, etc. But, getting back into it, something that was not popular when I was into the scene pretty heavy 15 years ago was patina. I had to kind of
Hmm.
learn that, well, wait, Rust is actually really cool now. And I'm like, oh, because, you see them places,
Yeah.
over time, and you look and you're like, damn, how does that car make Rust look so damn cool? And like, you don't ever envision that it's like really this big thing, though, right? When I got back into the
Yeah.
scene, I'm starting to notice, like, wow. So just resonating with what you're saying about things not having to be perfect. I think that's our culture, and it's really like
Hmm.
the whole birds of a feather flock together thing. That's really kind of all of us.
I
But
should
go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I should say that's probably one of the other more popular questions I get asked when they find out I drive it all the time or drove it cross country is when are you going to restore it? If they're not a Volkswagen person, like
Right.
it's already restored,
Yeah, that's probably the first ringer that lets you know yeah, you're like, yeah, so I'm not.
right?
That's funny. So interested though, over time, husband works, career, you guys bounce around. What do you think kind of keeps you engaged and keeps pulling you back to, Volkswagens or pulling you back to air-cooled vehicles? We can say collectively, decade after decade. I'd never ask a lady how old she is, but I can imagine it's probably at least a couple decades since you were 16, right?
Oh yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Amen. So what keeps bringing you back year after year or decade after decade to this culture, to this scene?
I would say a huge part of it is the community. It's one of the best communities I've been a part of. I've been a part of different communities for different things, for pinstriping and whatnot, and they're all great. But with the Volkswagen community, it's been wonderful. Like, and especially as we've been traveling around and we're going to places where we don't know anybody, and you put out a message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, or you get invited to a camp out, everybody just made us feel like they've known us the entire time for years. Like we go way back, just so welcoming. Or if you need anything, they're more than willing. Hey, here's my shop. Here's my garage. I have this extra part. What do they're very, very welcoming and they're a lot of fun too. We have so much fun hanging out with everybody at the campouts.
And mountains, just that whole scene up north, Midwest, West, where you're at, it's just epic. And I know that because spending time 9 years in Colorado, hitting all the trails, hitting all the mountains, having seasons change. I'm back here in flat, beachy Florida where it's hot as snot, during the day. It's so humid and gross. You're like, dude, what am I doing back here sometimes, right? But it's paradise in its own right for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're not shoveling snow in the middle of winter either.
I'm not. And the last time I had to shovel snow, I threw my back out. And about 5 days later, when I could walk again, I went and bought a gas powered blower, like freaking this machine that was like, look at this big wheel on the front of it that like threw the snow like 40 feet. I could like eject it all the way out of my own property, hit my neighbor's car if I wanted to. But yeah, no, I don't ever have to do that ever again. And I'm a little grateful, but I gotta be honest, I kind of miss it a little bit too. Having seasons change, letting my kids be able to grab a sled and go, down a hill, just whatever, all that type of stuff was it was, I guess, where I was at in my life and at those times, it was irreplaceable time in travel. I'll never live those times again. I'll never get to, and it's okay. I have those memories and they'll stay with me forever. But yeah, so cool. So how many cars have you owned over time? Volkswagens meaning.
This will be my fourth one, the bus that I have now.
Okay. Do you have a favorite that you've owned over the years?
I would say the bus that I have now.
Okay.
Yeah. I love it because you can drive it anywhere like any car. It's a lot of fun, but just the ability to go camping in it. The Beetles don't really give you that. I mean, you could maybe do a 10 on top or a 10 outside, but like actually self-contained,
Right.
you can't sleep in a Beetle. So I really love the bus, and you can haul all kinds of stuff around inside on top. So I've used that thing like
Yeah.
a truck. I've hauled some stuff in there.
Yes, I see it back there. I see the roof rack up there. I have a Nissan Envy, big passenger van, and I have a big roof rack up top. And dude, the amount of times I've taken the kayaks, the canoe, the freaking piece of plywood, you name it, it's been up there on that rack. And it's such a convenience to have a
Mhm.
large, roof rack like that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In your life as a Volkswagen hobbyist, was there ever a point or ever a time that you thought about maybe walking away from the hobby?
There was a time where I did walk away. It wasn't so much like I'm done with this, I'm moving on. It was more life circumstances. So I went and I lived abroad for a little while, and it was the first Beetle that I had bought. I left it with my brother, and he was like, I'm going to keep it in the garage. I'm going to take care of it for you. And I was gone for 4 or 5 months, and then I came back to do some work, and I went to his house, and the Beetle was in his backyard, literally sitting in mud, and it
Oh,
was starting to rust on the chrome bumpers and stuff. And I said, that's it. I'm done. You're not taking care of it. I'm going to sell it because I was going back out of the country. So I sold it. And I'm trying to think how many years it went by. It wasn't super long, maybe like 2 years went by. And
okay.
then I was back in the country by that time, and I just missed it. I was like, man, I really wish I would still have my Beetle. I miss it. I miss it. And another Beetle that we found came up for sale. So it wasn't long, like a couple of years, that I bought my second Beetle, and I was right back into it.
Okay. I mean, that could have felt like forever, though. I certainly understand
Mhm.
that. I spent a long time away, and I thought about, I'd still go see classic Volkswagen events. I'd still go to them. I'd literally look for them in different towns and cities when I'd be traveling. And then when I'd see one, I'd always go up and talk to people about them, and I wasn't in the scene or in the culture at the time. So I'd start having a conversation with them. And, you start talking to somebody sometimes and you think like, damn, this person knows a little bit too much about my car, right? Like that was
Yeah.
me. I always knew all the time. I'm
They're
like,
like, what's he doing?
right. I'm like, oh, it's a 71, huh? So first year for the disc brakes, and they're like, I think. I mean, yeah, if you say so. I'm like, well, hey man, it's your car,
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the life that you're living now. So you've been on the road for about a year,
Yeah, just over a year now.
just over a year. So
Yeah.
where did this thought come from? The thought of traveling the country, moreover, in a 62 panel, where did the thought of, hey, this is actually possible? Where did it start?
So it's really, I'm no stranger to selling things and moving randomly. I've done it a couple times in my life, which is one of the reasons why I lived out the country for a little bit. So I came back to the States and was working for a long time and kind of got back into like a normal, quote unquote, normal lifestyle, 9 to 5 and everything, working on a corporate career. And for quite some time, I worked from home. I was sitting on my desk working. I had a window outside, and I'd watch the days go by, especially during summer, because I hate being inside during when the weather's nice. I want to be outside, and I'm just here 8, 9 hours a day on my computer watching the world pass by, and it was just eating away at me. I'm like, I know there's a different lifestyle out there because I've lived it, and here I am, a slave to this computer in a sense. So I thought about it for a really long time, and the initial plan was not to travel the U.S. and the bus or anything. I love sailing, and I really wanted to go sailing and like sail around the world. So thought about it for a long time, and my husband came home from work one day and I said, what if we just sold everything and went sailing? And he said, okay, like that. I was like,
Hey,
that was easier than I thought. I was like, all right.
Adam's a rider.
So
I like it.
yeah, he is. Because he had some desire to do that even before we met. So it just kind of worked out. Long story short, I won't get into all that, but we literally like within 2 months just started selling everything. Like we had bought a house, we had a detached 4-car garage full of toys,
Holy
cars,
shit.
motorcycles, all the
A lot.
all this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
And we just started Facebook Marketplace selling stuff. We had yard sales, and as we researched more into the sailing, we decided, you know what, how about first we travel around the US and one, get to see the US because there's so many amazing places you have to see here and explore without even leaving the country.
Right.
And kind of slowly work our way towards this other goal eventually. And it gives us time to like downsize our expenses and save money. So the sailboat plan turned into traveling the US plan, and so that involved bringing the bus because I always wanted to drive my bus. out west and camp and explore. And, the East Coast is cool. There's lots of really cool camping, but West is just like a whole different beast with all
Totally.
of the public lands, like from Colorado. And it's
Mountains.
just,
Yeah. You,
yeah, mountains. I was like, I want to
you
explore
go
this in a
from
bus.
flat and boring. It's pretty, don't get me wrong. You got the beach and nothing replaces the beach and the salt water, but nothing in life replaces those mountains. Nothing.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
heaven on earth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to be completely transparent, like as we were planning for this trip, my husband took a work contract a few months out in Hawaii, and we were gonna be gone for 3 months. I know it's terrible, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
my bus has never sat for that long. Like even when we had our house and everything, I drove it all the time. I think the longest it ever sat was like 3 or 4 weeks because we had some bad ice storms and whatnot. And so I was very nervous. I'm like, if we drive out west, I'm gonna have to leave the bus for 3 months while we go to Hawaii. And I didn't know who I'd leave it with, where I'd leave it. And then I was very concerned, like, what condition is it going to be? I know it's only 3 months, but still, like, what condition is it going to be in 3 months? So for a moment, I was considering like not taking it. And I said, you know what, screw it. Like, I'm going to take it because if I don't, I'm going to regret it. I'm going to regret not having that whole experience to get out west. And then once we come back from Hawaii, being able to enjoy it. And I was like, I'll just figure it out. I'll get a storage unit or something. And so we ended up obviously taking it. And I'm so glad I did because of everything that we got to experience. And really cool story about that, like not knowing where I was going to put it as documented my journey across on Instagram. And I have a lot of pictures and videos on there, but I was also doing the stories every single day. And I'll talk about like where we were and how the bus was doing and just the whole thing.
yeah.
And kind of like an online friend that I have, somebody I've done pinstriping work for in the past, we've been following each other for years, was watching the progress and just said like, hey, I don't remember exactly what he said, but basically it was like he didn't know what our plans were, if we were gonna like go back east or what. He's like, if you ever need any place like to hold the bus or to work on the bus, I got a huge shop. You're more than welcome to come here. And I was like, actually, I need somewhere to store it for 3 months. And like having it with another Volkswagen owner he's been in it probably longer than I've been alive, like is amazing because they know exactly what to do. And I knew he could go out there and turn it on and, keep it going. So that was another really cool way that the VW community came through. And like, again, I never met him in person and he just opened up his shop and his home and his time to, to have it in his space. So not to derail from your original question too
No,
much.
that's okay. That was very Volkswagen-ish of him.
Yes.
Very V-dub-ish.
Yes. Yeah.
So back to the storyline though. What'd your friends and your family think when you announced your plans to kind of go from, the regular, chick that was working and kind of, I guess motionless to this, now, oh, we gonna do this, right? What'd your friends and family think?
I think a lot of my friends were not surprised at all. They're, I think they're probably more surprised if I stay in one place than if I
Okay.
keep going, just because that's kind of in
So
my
they know
history
you.
as I,
Yeah.
yeah, they know me. They're like, okay, yep, here, okay. We were waiting for it. We were expecting it. So it wasn't a really big surprise. I think they're like, okay, here she goes again.
Right. Were there any fears at all for you?
Not really. I mean, you always fear like, will the bus make it? What kind of issues will I have? Especially, I'd only driven her up and down the East Coast. I road tripped in her a ton up and down the East Coast, but like you mentioned, it's relatively flat. I
Mhm.
even went up into the mountains in North Carolina, but that's nothing compared to out
Yeah, you got
here.
4 and 5
Yeah,
thousand feet is nothing. Yeah.
ex- exactly.
Yeah.
So just trying to like, wonder how's she gonna do? Is she gonna overheat? Am I gonna have issues? And am I gonna break down in the middle of nowhere? That kind of thing is always a little bit in the back of your mind, but no major fears really otherwise.
Do you do your mechanical stuff yourself?
Kind of. Adam does a lot now. He helps me.
Cool.
Before we got married, I used a gentleman named Womack, Mike Womack. He's in Virginia, North Carolina border. I can do valve adjustments, oil change, like the basic maintenance, but once it gets beyond kind of that stuff, it's above my pay grade. So
Okay.
look
All
for
good.
somebody else. Yeah.
Um, living this lifestyle. I guess, has it defined or maybe even changed your definition of success?
Yeah, I think it solidified my definition of success. I've never been one to really buy into needing a lot of money or the career title or whatever. I did, kind of go after that for a little bit, but I don't think that really defines success. I think success is living a life that you enjoy and living it fully and being able to have this experience with the bus.
Mm,
For me, is success. Like, I don't care how much money I have in my bank account. I've got to live and do these things that money can't buy.
that's right.
You can't put a price tag on it.
Amen. Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about that bus though. So 62 panel. I don't know. Give us some details. Like what have you upgraded your motor? Have you, how is it, able to withstand the type of mileage slash, driving that you do in today's world, being that it's a 62 and it is so old. Like give us some details on what the bus is.
Yeah, I ask myself every day how she does what she does when I know what's been done to her. But so she has a 1600 dual port, dual carb engine. Nothing real fancy there. A lot of the suspension obviously has been upgraded, lowered. I've got disc brakes on the front, adjustable narrow beam. I really am a big fan of the 1600s. That's what I've had in my Beetle that I had for 10 years. I sold right when we left for this trip. Same thing. I went actually cross country in that Beetle with 1600 dual carb engine from Washington State to Maryland. No issues. I'm just a big fan of them. I think that they're very dependable. They're not fast. They're very slow, especially going up the hill. I lose a lot of speed. I might be going only 30 miles per hour, but they always get me there.
Right. They're gonna get you there though.
Yeah, exactly.
So you knew you were gonna be, living this life, camping, etc. I'm interested to hear why a panel bus instead of, maybe a pop top camper or, something along those lines.
I love panels. They're my favorite. I know they're not the most popular 21 window or 23 window bus, but panels for me, I just love like how sleek they look without the windows. And for camping, they're great because I don't have a bunch of windows to cover. I have a curtain in the front and a curtain in the back, and I can be inside and nobody knows you're in there, and it also blocks out the sun if you're trying to sleep and there's some lights or whatever. When I got the panel, I bought it just because of that reason. Like, I love panels. I didn't know that it would lead to this. So I'm trying to think, what year's 2026? This is like 6 years since she's been on the road. Like, I had no idea 5, 6 years later I'd be traveling in it. So it just kind of happened. I think a pop top might be a little more comfortable if I'm honest, or even an SO top that you could stand up in inside, but I still wouldn't trade it. Like, I love everything about it.
So what modifications have you made that I guess made the biggest difference for you or for a life on the road? Because somebody that might be thinking about, venturing into a lifestyle like this, they're interested in that question. What have you done that's made the biggest difference for the life that you're trying to live now in this bus?
Yeah, when I saw that question in your list, I was like, racking my brain. I'm not really sure how to answer that because I didn't build it for road tripping in this manner, spending this much time in it. And I feel like overall, I've kind of done minimal upgrades. I'm a little bit of a minimalist. So if it's not broke, if it's, yeah, not broke, don't fix it type of
That's it.
thing.
You
And
got it. Yeah.
yeah. And so, like, despite the advice that Dave Broden gives, and I can't disagree with, I don't have any tax. I have my speedometer, which isn't even calibrated. So it only tells me a rough range of how fast I'm going. And that's it. Like, I have nothing else. I think the disc brakes are probably a great upgrade. They help. They're still not like a new car, but I think they help compared to drum brakes. I feel like the dual carbs, because when I first put the engine in, it was a single carb, and I was having some issues with like lag and power. And then I upgraded to the dual carbs. That helped a lot as far as power goes. I mean, you're talking not a lot. It's not like she's a speed demon, but it's
You,
it.
you could tell. You could tell the
I
difference.
could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
And
upgraded
then also,
just a tiny
I'm
upgrade
sorry.
I was just going to say I've upgraded my carburetor just to a larger, carburetor and just a single still. And it's like a complete world of difference. I mean, if you really think about it though, if you go from 36, 38 horsepower to 45, it's a significant difference, like you can really feel it. So yeah, I vibe with
Yeah. Yeah. And then I put a Magna Spark distributor on. I feel like that really helped too. That gave me a little bit, like I was having some issues with some flat spots, especially in like first and second gear. And that really helped like work those out. So those are kind of like some of my favorite things that I've done.
that. Okay.
Other than that, like I haven't done anything crazy. When I got it, the inside was gutted. So I put a bed back there. That's probably a great upgrade if you're wanting to camp and spend a lot of time. You have a place
Don't
to
need to
sleep.
sleep. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Anything else like a solar shower or any of that type of stuff? Do you have any of that kind of cool stuff?
No, I don't have any of that kind of stuff
Okay.
with on the bus. Yeah.
Okay. How about the breakdowns? What's let you down? What's broken at worst possible time?
I need to find some wood to knock on because
I'll do it with you.
I have, yeah, I haven't had very many issues since we've been on the road. I've only broke down once, and this was actually 2 weeks ago, I think, maybe 3 weeks ago. Sometimes the days in the city start running together of like where you were going.
What a
We
cool
were,
ass
oh,
problem to have.
we were in White Salmon, Washington area, and we were headed to Hell's Canyon, Oregon. And we were on the way there, and we had a plan like pit stop to get out and take a break, stretch our legs, give the bus a break, let it cool down because we were going to climb a mountain. So we planned to stop in this little town called Athena, Oregon. Again, couple hundred population, tiny town. So we roll up and the main street shut down and they got a whole car show going on. No idea this was happening. I'm like, well, this is sweet. So we park the bus, we get out, we walk around, check out the cars, hang out for a little while, get back in the bus. I go a block, I lose all power. It just everything shuts down. I'm like, this is weird. Okay. So I like, play with the ignition, start it back up, starts back up. Okay, okay, that was weird. Half a block, lose everything again. So I'm like, all right, what's going on here? So pull over and start checking a bunch of different things. And long story short, it just turned out to be a corroded positive connector to the battery. There was just so much corrosion, it wasn't getting a good connection.
Yeah, right on.
That was it.
Oh,
So like,
I love it when it's easy, you
I
know.
know.
When the
But
fixes
like
are
in the
easy, it's
past,
like it's such a blessing. You're like, oh,
yeah,
that's it? Like you're
I
expecting
was like,
what's news.
exactly. I was expecting something way worse. I'm like, oh, this is so simple. So cleaned up the connection and drove the rest of the way on the trip. No big issue. So like in the past year, that's the only thing that's happened. Prior to us leaving for our trip, I was road tripping from North Carolina down to Jenny Springs for Farfanugan, I think is how you pronounce it. The camp out they do at Jenny Springs. I think it's in March. And the whole way down there, I kept having issues like with the idle being super low, and I'd come up to a stoplight and it would just die. And then so we were adjusting the idle and playing around with it and stuff like that. So we thought like something was a little off. Get to the camp out, pull up to the gate, and it dies. And then I get it started again. It took a little bit of playing around. I get it started. I get through the campground gate, and then it dies, and it's like done. So pull over into a spot, and I thought we were out of gas because we looked down in there like see a little bit of gas, but the gas gauge is low. Maybe the gas gauge quit working. It usually works. Maybe it quit working. So went and put gas in it, cranked right up all weekend long. It was fine. We was running around the campground, no issue. Okay, I was out of gas, no big deal. Start to head home, get on I-95 headed north, and we're stuck in this traffic. And all of a sudden, again, it dies and like will not start back. So coast over to the side of the interstate, and turned out to be my fuel pump. The whole time it was just like on the fritz. So
Yeah.
I carry a spare fuel pump with me. So my husband swapped it out in 5-10 minutes and back
Let's
on the
go,
road.
Adam. Adam saved the day. Let's go, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I,
Adam saved
I
the
love
day.
it. Good stuff.
I know. I'm kind of like, I kind of wish in a way, like whenever you break down, usually there's like, you get to meet people, there's a whole fun thing around it. And I'm like, I don't have any of those cool stories, but it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, that's what you probably listen to Dave's that's some of the best stories that he tells is when he runs into adversity on the highways. But yeah,
Yeah.
So your panel, if your panel bus itself could talk, could tell stories, what do you think so far in your list of adventures would be this bus's favorite adventure?
I think it kind of depends on like there could be a couple different ways. So it's hard to pick a favorite. You know, like going to the Sun Road that you mentioned in the opening, phenomenal views, just amazing to drive on a road. I think it was built in the 1930s, if I remember correctly, and it's still functioning today. Just gorgeous with like stone guardrails in certain sections, and it's just like a cliff straight down. Like that was really cool. But then going to like there's a camp out in Oregon called Totem. You know, we were in Washington at the time. We drove down to Totem. That was amazing. And then we were in this national forest with 80, I think, different Volkswagens, just in like a field in the forest, a clearing, just everybody's just piled around and the whole,
Yeah.
just like it felt surreal. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Like this is
dude.
like can't believe I'm here type of moment.
Right. Right. Wow. I've seen some pictures
Yeah.
of like out west, Midwest, where they have campouts and they like, they put 25, 30 buses all like kind of nose to nose in a big circle. And then there's like a
Hmm.
fire in the middle. And you're just like, is this real life?
Yeah.
Is this AI? No, it's real.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that's the life right there. I'd like to be
That,
one of them buses for sure.
that's what this weekend was like. It was just literally like it's BLM, or it might not be, they might call it there's BLM and then there's forest. I forget what the word is right now, but forest road you can use, public land, in other words. And same thing, like we had a huge circle, but then that wasn't big enough. So then they're like piled around the entrance. And then same, we had a huge fire in the middle and we're cooking baked potatoes in the fire together. And
Come
one
on.
guy had a DJ bus with lights and he's playing music for us at night. And it's just like wild
It's
in the
a
middle of the forest. Like we're surrounded by nothing for who knows how many acres or miles. It was cool.
crazy cool for sure.
Yeah.
Totally a vibe, totally a feeling right there.
Hmm.
So let's talk about this going to the Sun Road in Glacier National Park.
It's such an iconic road, and to be able to get on it, I think from the west side, they limit how many people come in. I remember there was some type of restriction. This was last summer, so my memory is a slightly foggy, but there was some type of limit if you're coming from the west side to enter the park. So we came in on the east side, which they don't limit, or they didn't at the time, anyways. And so just to be able to get on the road and drive it in the summer is kind of a thing. It's kind of a big deal, even no matter what car you're driving, because there's just so many people that are going. So to be able to do that and then to do it from the bus, it just felt surreal. Like I felt like I was maybe back in the 60s or the 70s traveling through this road. And then the park themselves, they have these old Ford like buses, for lack of a better word, where they take the tourist on, and they're fully restored from the 30s. So you're passing these old like 1930s. They've got new engines in it, but the rest of it looks like a 1930 something vehicle. They're passing you as you're passing them. So it
Like a
just kind of felt
Model
like a,
T.
yeah, but bigger. I'll
Yeah.
send you a picture. I'll send you a
Okay.
picture of one
Yeah,
so
dude.
everybody can see it. But
Yeah,
they're
cool.
just super cool looking. So you just kind of feel like a step back in time. Like I'm in this old car and they're in this old car, and then the scenery is just out of this world, just mountains, and you can see through the valley and cliffs dropping off. And a cool thing about going to the Sun Road while we were there, we were driving through and I came out of this tunnel, and apparently you probably know them, Centra. Oh, what's her husband's name? They're in Tampa area, I think. Centra and I'm blanking on his name. It's a couple from down in Florida happened to be on the same road. And as I came out of the tunnel, they were in a rental car. They were coming the other way. So she snapped a picture of the bus and put it on like I think the VW Volks page or one of the Florida pages. And then somebody saw me there and tagged me. I was like, oh, that's Vanessa. And I was like, we're everywhere. Like the
Yeah,
VW
that's
people are
so
everywhere.
cool.
Yeah.
All the way back here,
Right.
what would essentially be a different part of the world, truly,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super cool for sure.
Yeah.
In your travels, have you discovered places that are like so cool? Like, my son, he'll find fishing spots and he says, hey, I'm like, where were you today? He's like, I'm not telling, right? He'll take pictures when he catches some fish and he blacks out the background, you know. Have you ever
Yeah.
found places like that that you really just almost want to hush and keep to yourself?
Yes. Recently, I found a place like that. And I did share it if you follow me, but I didn't tag it intentionally. But I did mention in the description, Wallowa Lake, Oregon, which is in a town of Joseph, Oregon. Absolutely incredible. And we had no idea, like it wasn't a planned place. We were on our ways to Hell's Canyon, and that was just the path to get there. And just a beautiful lake, like alpine lake, so very pretty, very clear water. They actually rent those clear kayaks so you can like look down and see the fish and stuff at night,
Yeah. Oh,
with lights.
yeah.
Yeah, and then like so you have the lake, but then you have these just massive mountains all around, just gorgeous. And it's not really discovered yet. I think there were people there. You could tell it has a little bit of a touristy feel to it, but it's not like the bigger parts yet. So that was really nice, like kind of having that small town feel. And the town is just so cute, like cute little buildings and restaurants and stuff like that. And then probably another place that I really loved, I think is more popular, is the Sawtooth Mountains, which is in Stanley, Idaho. And same thing, like the town is tiny. There's only 100 people that live there year round.
Dude.
Yeah. And then it like doubles in the summer for all the raft guides and restaurants and things like that for the tourists, but still 200 people. Uh, every little building is like a log cabin and wood, just very like Western, what you think of when you think of the West, and then it's surrounded by these gorgeous mountains that still have snow on them in the summer because they're so high up, and oh, and they also have Redfish Lake, which we went paddleboarding on. Is same thing. Like you feel like you're in the Caribbean because the water is so blue and so clear,
So
but you're in Idaho. Yeah.
I have a story I can tell on that. Never even knowing in my life that something like that could exist. In like 2004, I went to Lake Tahoe, and it was the first time that I had ever seen water that clear in a lake, right? So we take this tour boat out. It's like this, 65 foot, huge like, yacht thing, and it has this giant section on it where it's a glass bottom. And like, you can go in like these small tours of like 15, 20 people, and you can go down and they let you go down and look at this, kind of glass area, and you spend like 5 or 7 minutes, and then you move out and the next crew comes down, right? And you can kind of cycle through. It's you don't even it doesn't even register in your brain how vast the bottom of a lake is when it's 80 to 100 feet and you can see the bottom, and you can see like old trees and just structure, and you're like, what? You see big fish, they look like they look they look big to you, and they're 80 feet down, and holy shit, this fish is probably 3 feet long.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, no. So I vibe with that completely. And I would love to paddleboard some stuff like that. We went to some lakes, throughout Colorado, and even in our travels, even into Washington State myself. I've seen some really, really, really clear water. And you really, like you said, it's like, you're like, wow, you don't even realize it's possible. Because most of
Yeah.
us, we see lakes, it's kind of mucky,
Mhm.
muddy type water, tastes like catfish, type water, it's not really. But when you see that blue stuff, you're like, dude, this is it here. This is
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love that. We have the
That's
springs
awesome.
here. Like you mentioned, Jenny.
Hmm.
We have all the springs like, Homosassa, that area, the manatees, all that stuff. That's
Hmm.
probably some of my favorite parts of Florida, because it's like old school Florida. There's
Hmm.
not a lot of buildings and growth and stuff there, right? It's still kind of
Yeah.
old school Florida. It's really, again, it's probably one of my favorite areas. But
I road tripped in the bus to Homosassa
oh yeah, I love Homosassa.
when when I lived in South Carolina. Me and my cousin did a road trip. The cousin that got me into Volkswagens, him and I went down there together and when well, what do you call it? My mind just went blank. The little oysters, not oysters. Is it oysters? No, clams. We went clamming
Oh, you went
down
clamming.
there.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh
was a lot of
no,
fun.
you probably went scalloping.
Scalloping, that's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Scalloping,
yeah. I'm
yes.
about to say, I mean, we do have clams, but you don't really go clamming here because they're like few and far between. But you do go scalloping.
Scalloping.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, that
yeah.
was it.
Yeah. Those are cool. Those are cool. Did you guys get any luck?
We got only a very few. Like everybody in the group got very few, and the guide said it was a year that it was just like a really low year. Nobody was hardly getting anything. I
Yeah.
think it was like 15, like enough for one tiny little dish.
Yeah, that happens though. We've gone, we usually go every year, like the first week in July. We got all kinds of spots and numbers and stuff up there. When you're from here, it's just kind of like a normal thing.
Yeah.
But some years you go and a few guys jump in and you're kind of idling around, you're holding on to, the ski rope and you're looking at stuff and you're letting go and you're getting and you're putting them in your bag and some years you get 15, 20, and you're
Mhm.
busting your ass and holding your breath and you're exhausted in probably 2 hours. Other
Yeah.
times you limit out in 2 hours and you fill up a
Yeah.
5 gallon bucket and it's time to head back. But yeah, I hear that a lot. Actually, this year it was slow. It started slow
Mm.
in the first couple of weeks of July. It started slow. Usually some good weather. If we have, active storms, when storms kind of come through, it kind of flushes them all in and brings them all into the shallow waters in the bays up through those river mouths, Homosassa especially.
Yeah.
But again, my favorite area. I love the clear water. That clear
Mhm.
water, Three Sister Springs, all that stuff up in Homosassa. That's just my vibe. I love that stuff. I paddle in it. It's cool. It's like it's just refreshing. It's just awesome. It's awesome for sure. Cool to vibe with you on that. Let's talk about camping. Our community, Volkswagen community, meaning camping is such a huge part of our culture. Why do you think camping and Volkswagens kind of fit so well together?
That's a great question. I would say maybe because it's kind of this adventurous thing. Volkswagens are the icon of adventure, especially buses, and and camping is like adventure. It's freedom. It's being outside. I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it, but something about them, they do just kind of go hand in hand. Something about the personalities I think that attract you to a Volkswagen also attract you to camping in a lot of ways. I know there's a lot of Volkswagen people who aren't really into the camping. They're more into like the show and shine, which is cool too. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about your show. You have, or not a show, but you have a camp out that you set up and do. Let's talk about that tradition. How did it begin? And let's just touch a little bit on it. Tell me a little bit about it.
yeah, so let's see. I think it was back in 2021 I held my first one. But prior to that, I lived in South Carolina at the time, and I had been going up to this campground in the mountains of South Carolina, just not really bus related, just camping. I went there, it backs up to a national forest, so I went bear hunting up there one winter. Really enjoyed the
Damn,
campground. Yeah, didn't get
damn,
anything, but
girl,
it was fun.
crazy.
So yeah, I enjoyed the campground. The owners, it's like a husband and wife owner, super cool people. And they have this site that's like massive for a group. And I was like, it'd be a really cool place to have a camp out here. I wonder if the owners would be up for something like that. I knew they held a couple other festivals and stuff like that there. So just talked to them like, hey, would you guys be interested in doing a VW camp out? Come to find out, the owner used to own VWs. Like he's a VW guy who just stepped away for a while. He
Yeah.
was like, he's like, that's my dream. I have my campground and I have a VW camp out here. He's like, that is my dream come true. He's like, absolutely, let's make this happen. So I was like, sweet. So I just, put up a Facebook event page and invited all my friends. And it's a smaller group, but we have a great time. And the year after year, a lot of the same people come back. And then, every year I have a couple of new people trickle in and trickle out.
So you
And
say you say smaller. How many?
right now, we probably have about 15,
Okay.
17 vehicles show. So
Okay.
30 people, maybe, depend on, how many people are in the car.
Yeah.
So it's not big, but I actually kind of like that because we all get a chance to really know each other. We get a chance to spend time talking and spending time together. And because a lot of us are coming year after year, it's like a reunion, almost like, oh, I haven't seen you since last year. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
like it.
I always organize a day where it's optional, obviously, but you can go do like a hike. So we'll explore certain areas. One year we went to Tallulah Gorge, which is actually in Georgia, but the campground is really close to the Georgia state line. We hiked around Tallulah Gorge and saw the waterfalls. This past year, we went to this like cave that had been hand dug. I forget what year it was, like years and years ago, been hand dug by Irishmen. And so we try to do like some local cool little touristy thing, and one night we do a BYOB. Everybody brings their favorite can of beer or wine or spirit, and then we have tasting cups and we all taste each other's favorites. And that
Sweet.
always gets a little fun.
Yeah, that's fun. That sounds cool, man.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, what keeps people coming back, but I don't have to. Doing hiking and doing all that stuff and kind of having those adventure type things, for people to look forward to. Um, I think a better question would be really how the VW community itself, having an event like this, really just, the connection that you have to this community across the country. Now, how has the community really impacted your life as of late, as of last, few years, especially with you traveling?
I just said to my husband yesterday, I think we were talking about our travels, and we just went to the VW at the Springs camp out in Idaho here. And I said, we have a lot of fun with everything that we're doing, whitewater rafting and hiking, and you meet people all along the way. But I said, whenever we go to these VW campouts, it's just different. Like, even though we pull in, we don't really know anybody, maybe an Instagram friend or something like that, but we don't know anybody there. And just the way that you're received, and for that weekend, it feels like we're with old friends hanging out. It's just, it's a little bit hard for me to put into words, but I literally said to him, I said, that is some of the best out of everything we've done. Those are some of my favorite memories is when we're at the campouts with the people, the VW family, as I call it. I don't know how to really put it into words, but it just makes you feel like home away from home. It's when you travel, you leave your friends behind, and you might, phone call, text, whatever, but you don't really get that same like sit down, hang out with an old friend, have a beer. But when you go to these campouts, that's exactly what it feels like, even though you met 10 minutes ago.
So cool. It's not every day that, well, it is for me, right? Because I get to have this podcast and I get to connect with people that are like-minded. But it's not every day that you get to talk to somebody that understands that, right? Because a lot of times we're trying to explain this culture to other people that don't know it, right? And they're like, "Why do you drive that old thing, man? Like, what is it?" And you're like, you can't really get it all into one sentence or make it, easy to explain, that it's the community. That's really
Mm-hmm.
what keeps us all, coming back. We love these little cars, but you know they're going to break down. You know they're going to let you down. You know there's going to be issues. You're putting money into them. You know all of that stuff, but you don't care. It's like the community, the experiences that you get to have, create, make, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it. Makes it all worth it. Makes
Mm-hmm.
it all worth it. Let's talk about
Yeah.
people. Do you have any people that have kind of stood out for you across, maybe even the last few years that maybe have stood out to you as people that are unforgettable, as you've traveled and as you've really lived this life?
There are several, and I'm afraid that I'm going to forget to mention some, and I definitely don't want to do that. But a couple just like instantly pop into mind. Like over the years, I would say I have a really good friend, Andy Arts. He's in North Carolina. Him and we met, I don't even know, 10 years ago at a Volkswagen event. And I lived in Maryland and he lived in North Carolina. And it's wild how our paths just continuously have crossed. And then I ended up living in North Carolina just a couple hours from him. And he's just a good dude. He'll do anything for you. He'll help you out. I've called him on the phone when I've had problems with my bus. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And he's literally sat on the phone and walked me through, do this, do that, and just
So
taking his
cool.
time. And I'm sure he was busy, and he took time out of his day. But beyond that, like him in particular, when I held my camp out this year, and it's around March, April, my bus was in Washington State. Well, I'm not going to drive it all the way back to South Carolina just for the camp out. So I was flying back to host the camp out and I was like, I'm just gonna tent camp it. Like it's better than nothing, right? And he goes, I've got an extra bus you can use. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you serious? He's like, yeah, use one of my buses. So he gave me one of his buses for a week, a whole week. I
Damn.
guess I flew in on like Tuesday, took it back Monday. I'm like, who does that? Like, lets you just have their bus. And he had a little prep work, so he spent time getting it ready for me. And then he drove it to Charlotte. He lives like 2 or 3 hours from Charlotte. He drove it there, dropped it off at another VW friend's house. So I flew into Charlotte, took an Uber to that guy's house, picked up his bus, then drove it 3 hours down to South Carolina, camped in it all week, and then drove it back to Charlotte. And then I flew back out and he drove back down to Charlotte, picked it up, and drove it home. So like he went beyond out of his way,
Wow.
just a good all around guy.
Yeah.
So that comes
Okay.
to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying like the community is amazing. Like I love it. And then just traveling, like recently I was headed into Bend, Oregon, I don't know, like a month ago, and it was coming up time to do valve adjustments, oil change, all this stuff. And I didn't know anybody in Bend, but I knew some people in Oregon. So I put in a Facebook group like, hey guys, I'm rolling into Bend next week. I need to do maintenance. Is there anybody's driveway? Like I just want a driveway because you can't campgrounds won't let you work on a car. Like if they see you putting up on jacks and stuff, they're probably gonna come tell you to stop. So within minutes, a guy named Blake messaged me, hey, I got a spot for you. Sweet, thank you. So we exchange information. I think I'm going to use this guy's driveway and we're going to be, my bus is lowered. So it's not easy to work on,
Right.
putting up on jacks and stuff. No, I show up. He has a full on shop at his house with a lift. And he's like, here's the shop. Like, just completely opens it up to us. He doesn't know us. We don't know him. Lets us camp for the night there before because I was worried, the engine has to be cold to do the valve adjustment. So he's like, just come and camp the night before. That way it's already here, it's already cold, and the next day you can do what you need to do. And just
Right. Right.
super cool, like amazing.
Shout out to Blake.
Um,
Shout out to
yeah,
Blake.
shout out to Blake. He's I should remember this. V7 Automotive is his because he actually works on Volkswagens. He's been like a Volkswagen air cooled Porsche mechanic for 25 or 30 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we all need a little bit of Blake in us.
exactly.
Cool, man.
Oh man, I could go on. Like there's so many, I met Dave at a couple of camp outs and he's just an all around Dave Bronin, just
Yeah.
you
Super
just meet so yeah, you just meet some people and you're like, that's a good soul right there. Like he's such a
period.
good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete Wagner from Utah. I met him this past week. We've been following each other for years. Finally met in person. Him and his girlfriend Allison, wonderful people. They had extra spots in their campsite because we didn't have a reservation. They're like, oh, we got rooms, so they squeezed us in with all of them. Like I could just, there's so many. I could go on and on.
So Bronin has a panel, obviously,
Hmm.
as well. And he came in April of this year and he did our Skyway cruise, which we start south of the Skyway. We line up about 200 cars. We come over the Skyway. We've had as much as 400, 440 was our big number, which is crazy. That line's almost 3 miles long, by the way.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts. Uh, Especially the drone shots of those that many classic, Volkswagens coming over the Skyway Bridge. It's just it's epic. But to talk on what you just said, I'd gone up and introduced myself to him because, I obviously had followed his journey quite a bit before. And when I realized that his bus was there at our event, I was like, holy shit, it's that dude from California, right? Like I'm telling Alan, I'm like, yo, this guy's here in his bus from Cali. Like it's just kind of I guess inspiring for anybody that puts together an event that somebody would come from that far,
Hmm.
to be a part of your Volkswagen gathering. But again, to talk on what you were saying, I had gone up and introduced myself and just, shook his hand and chatted with him for a second, and I could tell the instant that I met him that he was a good soul.
Hmm.
Period. It's just like, oh, just like you said, sometimes you meet people and you just know. You just,
Hmm.
that's part of,
That
I don't know, but maybe part of being born in July, part of my Cancer nature. I don't really know what it is, but sometimes I can just vibe and I can just tell.
Mhm.
It's just like a dog, right? A dog, sometimes they look at people and they're like, grr, right?
Yeah.
You're like, damn, what do they know that we don't, right? Something. 'Cause
Right.
that
Yes.
person usually ends up being a piece of, you know what?
Yeah.
Dog don't like you, something's up, you know?
Something's not right.
Right, right. But Dave, no, I knew right away.
Yeah.
And then he was kind enough to, busy guy, lots of driving. I think 80,000 miles in just under 24 months. I mean,
Mhm.
that's pretty nuts. But he was kind enough to come on the podcast just like you were. And I appreciate that because I get to share these stories with you guys. So awesome. All right, let's talk about art a little bit. Pinstriping, maybe some creativity.
Yeah.
So hand painting, pinstriping, they've also become another part of your identity. How did this come about? How did this get started in your life?
Yeah. As I mentioned, I've been in the cars since I can really remember, and I'd go to the car shows and I'd see the pinstripers there doing their artwork. And one in particular, he had like where I grew up in Georgia, pulled around a little red wagon with all his supplies, and I was like, man, this stuff is so cool. But to be honest, I really don't have much of an artistic bone in my body. So before getting into like pinstriping and whatnot, I barely could draw a stick figure.
That's kind of surprising to
So
hear.
I know most people are, and like I'm good with the pinstriping and the lettering, but I don't deter too much from that. But so I kind of always thought like, oh, I can't do that because I don't have this artistic ability. And then one year, one day, I was just like, you know what? You're never gonna learn if you don't try. So I went and bought a brush and like a can of paint, and I don't remember where, if I went on YouTube or what, but just started like reading, looking up information and practicing, and kind of got out of it for a while. I moved out to California, and then I got surrounded by pinstripers. You're like so many out in California at the car shows. And then I just was like, that's it, I'm doing it. So I sat down and I would, no joke, spend hours, 3, 4 hours a day just striping, striping, striping. Because when I started, you do it on like a glossy magazine because it kind of mimics like a metal car hood. So I
Oh.
would just stripe a page, wrap it up, throw it away, stripe a page, wrap it up, throw it away. Just like, because it looked like garbage. It looked like a 3-year-old, you know? And it just started as like a hobby thing, on the side. And then some people found out I did it. Hey, I'll pay you to pinstripe my helmet, or hey, I'll do this or that. And then it just kind of over the years trickled into being more of a thing that I was doing. I never did it full time. It was always like on the side of my main job. And eventually I was on 2 different TV shows, lettering and pinstriping for them. And it
Wow.
just kind of, yeah, I would go to like car shows and do it live. And it just kind of became this whole other thing. And I absolutely love it. I kind of get in a zone. Once I'm in it, I'm like, even my husband said, like, after, when we first got married, he's like, I'll come out to the garage and see you. And he's like, I can tell, like, you're just in this zone. Like, you're here, but you're not here because you were just like in this moment. And it's almost therapeutic for me once I get doing it. I just enjoy it so much.
So cool, man. Um, Real quick, have you seen, I don't expect that you have, but have you seen the paint job that's on my Carmen Gia that I just picked up from the artist just last week?
I haven't, no.
I'm gonna show
You
it to
have to show me. Yes. Wow.
you. So he did this like cartoon style paint job on it.
That looks awesome. That's a lot of work too. Like the
Dude.
all of
Yeah.
that.
So he's got a YouTube video on it. He spent almost a month on this car. Okay. Sick. So the story on that paint job on that car is it's my wife's Carmen Ghia. It's a 71. We found it in a barn in Pennsylvania about 4 years ago now. And it was a one owner with 46,000 miles on it. And it was just beautiful. My son, about 2 years ago, ran into it with our zero turn lawnmower and just put a big dent.
Oh
Bust-
no.
Yeah, busted the trim up on the side. And I took it to a body shop and I'm like, I don't really like the trim. anyway on Carmen Gias. I like just the sides to be kind of, flat. I'm like, can you remove all the trim? Well, yeah, but if we take the trim off, you're gonna have all these little, trim holes. I'm like, all right, well, let's patch those up. Can you weld them so they're not, I don't really want to do the Bondo thing. They're like, yeah, we can weld them. So they start getting that work underway, and then it exposes some more rust. This other area that where he had hit it, it dented in it, like this little piece of metal like flapped out, and I kept pushing on it. I'm like, metal doesn't really feel like this, So I got the
Mhm.
magnet. I'm like, shit, this is actually Bondo. So when I had it there, I had them fix this spot. Turned out it was like this rust hole, like this big. So they had to fix it, and it was fiberglass. They had Bondoed it and then fiberglassed it and then sanded it and
Interesting.
yeah, and then painted it. You
Yeah.
really couldn't tell. I mean, it was really kind of a pretty decent hack job, if you will. But anyway, I had all that fixed, right? All that metal work, some rust up around the headlights was starting to bubble. They fixed that too. So when I got the car back about a year and 2 months ago, it was still this, really pretty like green, like almost like a forest green up top. And then down below, it was all primered and kind of fixed now and sanded and, kind of ugly. So my wife was like, ew, I don't no, that's not really, I don't really want to drive in this car anymore. I'm like, okay. So we kind of put it on the back burner. I've got a 62 Beetle as well, and I had a thing, a 74, and I just had some other projects, that kind of took the time and took a little bit of the budget. So I stopped working on her car. Well, recently, probably last few months, she kind of got, we did some of the shows throughout November, December, January, did our peer show, and she kind of missed. So we had 4 shows that we did, hundreds of cars at each show, and none of our cars were in them. So she was like, I kind of miss having a car at the show. I'm like, okay, so what's up? You wanna do something? She's like,
You ready? Yeah.
yeah, she's like, yeah, I do. Let's look into maybe getting the Carmen Gia wrapped for our real estate brand. We own a real estate brokerage. I'm like, cool, let's do that. Let's look into it. So we looked into getting it wrapped. I got it priced. It was like four
Yeah,
grand.
it's expensive. Yeah.
I'm like, hold on, bro. I can have it painted for that. So
Mhm.
hang on. So I, went back to my wife. I'm like, hey, I don't know if we should wrap it because, well, we can paint it, get it clear coated for probably cheaper, just quite honestly.
Mhm.
So she's like, all right, well, what kind of paint job are you thinking of? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, well, what color? I'm like, well, let's just kind of stick with green because the inside's green, engine compartment's green, front trunk's green. Like, let's just kind of stick with green. She's like, all right, well, what color green? I'm like, I don't know. Let's do this. Everybody's using AI. Let's tell AI some cool shit and see what kind of, prompt we can come up with and see what kind of paint job it throws back at us. So we threw some, prompts into AI into Chat GPT. I'm like, all right, we like green. So like use like 5 different shades of green. We want this like comic book style, but also like lowrider, classic early 90s lowrider vibe, with those really cool swirls and paint. Um, yeah, we hit that prompt and it came back and it put out the sickest looking paint job. I got a buddy down south, Matt McAllister, who's a mural artist that has done a couple he's also a Volkswagen enthusiast. He's had Volkswagens in magazines and he's got some pretty dope cars. But I sent him a picture in on Facebook Messenger and I'm like, yo, here's, here's my idea, here's my thought. This is the AI rendering. He goes, bro, I can paint that. I'm like, you can? He's like, I can paint that on your car. I'm like, okay. So are you saying you're gonna do it? So he quoted me and I'm like, holy shit, I'm doing it. So he had my car for about a month, my wife's car for about a month, and that's what we got back. I mean, epic. So I've got some
I like it.
portables out my living room right now, some 15x7 phone dials that I tried to mount just last week, and the adapters to go from the 4x130 to the 5x130, they stick out like maybe like an inch, inch and a quarter, and it with the offset, it they stick out too far. I can't fit the 15 by 7 even with 175 50 series tires in the back. There's you don't have that much room on the Carmen Ghia. So I had to go with drilled drums for the back and then drilled rotors for the front. The rotors are on their way. The drums are ordered. They haven't shipped yet, but they will be. So I'm about to put those wheels on. They would have already been on, but I ran into that little snag. But that thing is going to look epic when I got those phone dials on it. But guess what? She'll be ready for show season.
Yeah, oh yeah. I
Uh,
like it. It's a very unique paint job too. It's not what you see on every other car, which I like.
Yeah, and I showed you that video, but let me see if I have. So the name of the car now is Karma Geddon instead of Carmen Gia.
Armageddon.
Yeah,
Oh
Karma.
yeah, I can see that. It's kind of like oh, there you go. It's kind of got like a scallop look to it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Good call. Okay. Who inspires your artistic style?
I would say I was really it's kind of cliche, but I was really inspired by Ed Roth,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
creator of Rat Fink back in the day. Like I just really love his style. I like very like sharp and kind of pointy designs. When you I don't know, like for me when I look at pinstriping, I could kind of see like different styles in it. Maybe to an outsider it might all look like the same thing, but some people have more of like a loopy, soft, very flowy. Other people might have like Kafka is the artist named Kafka. He's Steve Kafka has been around for years. He does like his own, he kind of created his own little style with like swirls and things like that. But I like very like drastic, sharp, pointy edges.
yeah. Cool. Does every vehicle kind of, I don't know, do you approach every vehicle differently when you pinstripe, or do you kind of have like your process and your way?
I would say I approach it differently, especially if it comes to like the design aspect, because I'm really trying to tailor it to what the owner wants or likes, their personality, or maybe the history of the car. I'm trying to figure out like more about them because I can put my design on there that I like, but I want the person that owns it that's going to be looking at it every single day to walk away and love looking at it every single day. So I really try to get as much input from the owner as I can or the person that I'm painting for as I can. And sometimes they're like, "Oh, I don't know, just do what you want to do." And I'll try to ask questions to like draw them out to get more information from them because I really want to make sure that they're what they might have in mind or what they like is really part of the end result.
It kind of expresses that you care about the outcome of the artwork that's going on their car, right? Possibly even more than they do, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
And that kind of shows. So that's awesome. That's who I'd want. You know, this my buddy that painted the Carmen Ghia for my wife. He's a super passionate artist, you know, and he's always posting shit of his work and the steps along the process of these super big murals he does on the side of giant buildings. And, you know, he's always encompassing the process and the people and why he does things and why he uses certain colors. And I'm just like, bro, I got to use this guy one day, you know, to do some kind of paint work for me. And then he came out with a YouTube video like a couple of years ago. It's called Punchy's Garage. That's his YouTube handle. Punchy's his 66, I believe, Beetle. But I saw him do a bay window bus in this cartoon style, comic book style theme. And I was like, holy shit, dude, I gotta, you know, have one of my Volkswagens painted like that one day. And, you know, back then Matt was coming to a couple of our shows and our events. Well, then the storms came and he lost his car in one of the hurricanes. It flooded. He still has it, but you know, it flooded, and so it wasn't running anymore, and you know, damaged his interior real bad, and just a total mess. So I didn't see him at the shows for a little while. So when we had this opportunity to reconnect, and he was able to paint the car, it was just really cool because to connect with you on that, I would want somebody that cares about the outcome too, painting my car, you know, instead of
Yeah.
somebody that's just like, yeah, you know, whatever, man, I'll fit it in, you know,
Yeah.
type, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You don't want that. It's kind of my downfall because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist with it. So then I end up spending a ton of time making it quote unquote perfect. It's never perfect, but it bugs me. If something's off a little bit, I'm redoing it. I'm fixing it. I'm changing it.
That's cool though, man. That's good. That's I like the perfectionist aspect of that. Again, it just shows that you care. So really, really cool. Let's touch on sharing this journey. We've talked about Adam a little bit, but I want to dive just a little bit deeper into to kind of life with him. How has traveling kind of changed your relationship with your husband?
I would say that it's made us a lot closer and better communicators because when you're spending so, so much time all the time together in such a small space, and then when you go when you go to these new cities or states or whatever, and you don't know anybody, all you really have is each other to a certain degree, you know? So really, we've improved our communication because you have to communicate really good when you're all together all the time. And then you get to know pretty much everything about each other because you're in a very small quarters.
Yeah, it's coming out. Yes.
Yeah.
Everything's coming out. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Has this adventure, I guess, has it made you guys collectively appreciate simplicity a little bit more?
100%. Yeah. Um, like I mentioned before, I'm somewhat of a minimalist, or at least I consider myself that. And I've sold stuff before and traveled, and I love it. Like really, life can be enjoyed with so little. And Adam's done quite a bit of traveling before we got together, but he's kind of seen it in a different way, traveling this way. And he said that he's like, wow, like you really don't need much to enjoy. In fact, the less that you have, I think you enjoy it more. Like we've downsized and we've downsized and we've downsized. And the less you have, the less you're worrying about, the less even just mental load, mental space it's taking. It's just wonderful. I mean, it comes with its cons too, its challenges, but I definitely love it.
So I could pack that in my brain and into this I guess relation. All right. I for the last 5 years or so I've taught a class out in Austin, Texas, about 4 times a year. I go out, I travel out there. I've gotten it down to where, I know the hotel, I know the places I'm gonna eat, I know the class really well. Like I just know everything. I've been doing it for years, right? So over time, the amount of shit that I bring with me in my backpack, well, it used to be a backpack and a suitcase, and I'd pack everything up and I'd have this travel this and that. It went from that to, well, now we're just going to pack the backpack, right? And we're really going to, and then sometimes it'd be like the backpack and the boots, would be a little, because they're steel toe, and you don't want to wear them because then you got to scan them, and
Yeah.
but here's my point. Over the years, I've gotten down to where I barely even want to take the backpack. It's really just like a handbag now, where I have 2 pairs of pants because I don't care. I'm only there 3 days. 2 shirts. One of them's getting repurposed 2 days. It's the black polo because I can teach the class the first day and the last day in the black polo, right? And it's like I've really gotten it down to where I really don't have to take much. And here's my favorite part is when I step off that plane in Austin and I see all these people struggling with all this shit they're carrying. And I'm just like, boom. I go to the taco bus. I get my brisket tacos. I bounce out of the airport. It's like
We're done.
so awesome. Like, so when you said the less you have, like it's almost like the more happy you are, it just clicked right there, with my brain because that I feel that. I feel that. Somebody that would be dreaming about maybe taking a cross country trip in their Volkswagen, or living a life of adventure like this, what's the biggest piece of advice that you would have for them?
Just do it. Just take that first step and just do it. I think that my only like, if I had a regret, the only regret would be that we didn't leave sooner and we didn't do it sooner.
Wow, that's heavy, man. That's cool though. Do you see this journey ending anytime soon for you guys?
No, we really don't. We're going to keep going, keep adventuring, keep traveling. We've got a lot of places we haven't seen even outside of the US. Like we're going to do some more exploring here, and then eventually we want to start broadening where we're going. And
So cool,
it's
man.
it's hard to imagine like going back to a normal life, but I'm calling a normal life, you know? And maybe one day we will. I'm not saying we won't, but because you never know. I've learned never say never, but
Yeah, right on.
it's yeah.
I talk to a lot of
We're gonna
folks. in the Volkswagen community. And, some of them that I've even had on the podcast, they travel and they go to like, Volkswagen events in Germany and, just crazy, overseas stuff like that. And it's really opened my eyes to it too and really made me think. I've even had other countries on the podcast. Just for your info, not that you would care to know this, but this podcast is actually downloaded in like 79 countries.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's great.
Like, what, dude? Like, I
Yeah,
didn't even know there were 79 countries. Okay.
that's
My wife's
awesome.
like, shut up. You definitely knew that. I'm like, no, really, I didn't. But, thanks for thinking I did. But no, really, when I saw all of these, some of these countries I can't even pronounce, and I have, hundreds of downloads in these countries, I'm like, what? What are they doing? The first time I saw probably like Indonesia or so, just somewhere crazy, right? I went on Google and I'm like, Volkswagen community and I type the country or type the name. And dude, I pull up all these videos. I'm like, holy shit, they're like modding their cars the same way we are. It's like, it's just so crazy how big the Volkswagen community really is. But
Absolutely.
back to you and your travels. Do you have anything on your bucket list still in the US?
Like Volkswagen related or in general?
I'd say, well, because you're traveling in a Volkswagen, but no, maybe travel related in the bus.
Okay. I would say I really want to go to Buses by the Bridge,
Oh,
BBB.
too. Yeah, me too.
And on this trip, I can't even tell you how many people we've met. They're like, you gotta go down there, and they'll tell me their experience of attending. So it's definitely on my bucket list. I'd really like to go there.
Sweet.
Spring picnic in California is supposed to be pretty cool. I'd like to check that out. Yeah, there's
Very.
there's a lot, but those would be two that come to mind.
Yeah, if you guys are ever in on this side ever again, April and January, I've got V-Dubs over the Skyway, which Bronan just came to and was a very cool ride. It's just a ride over the bridge and a hangout for several hours. We pass out some trophies, and they're really cool trophies. They're made out of Volkswagen heads,
Oh, that's sweet.
and it's heavy, heavy. So you got the
That's
bridge,
cool.
yeah, and it says V Dubs over the Skyway. Gives the date and the year, and that's all epoxy up top. But
When when is your indoor camping one that you mentioned at the beginning of the episode? 'Cause that sounds sweet.
indoor camping one is going to be July 31st,
Of this, no, this not
27.
this year,
Nope,
27.
27.
Okay.
27. Yep. We have V-Dubs on the pier, however, which is the property off of Spa Beach Park, downtown St. Pete. We're the only car show that's been allowed back on the pier since new construction in 2016. So that's like really kind of a cool thing for this city to honor Volkswagens like that. About 240, 250 cars.
They
And
don't they don't mind the oiled spots on
it's
their new bridge.
so Spa Beach Park is that little body of land, that little peninsula right to the left of the pier.
Okay.
Or if you're on the pier, it's going to be right to the right. So it's like the Vinoy yacht basin right there. It's right there. So we all park on the grass.
Okay.
Yeah, it's epic. Both of those events though, put those on your bucket list too, because those both of those are super rad events. You definitely have to make your way.
I will. And if we're back out that way, I definitely would attend.
Yeah, awesome. Sure. All right, let me get that out of the way because it's too heavy and big to be up here. Okay, looking ahead, plans ahead for you guys. Yeah, like what's the immediate future look like for Vanessa?
The immediate future, we're in Wyoming right now, so we're gonna spend a few days here. We're gonna do some whitewater rafting, and then we're gonna go to Utah for a little bit. And honestly, we don't plan super far out because we kind of fly by the seat of our pants. Something pops up, we want to go here, go there. Weather, fire, we have a lot of wildfires out here right now, so that could change plans. Like we talked about going into Colorado, but we'll see if that happens or not. It's hard to say.
Super cool. And
Yeah.
what a way to live. You really can't, a lot of us can't, and I say us because I don't. I live in a house. I don't live on the road. I've traveled a lot in my life and I've had that feeling of, kind of never settling, in one area for too long type thing. Um, but I haven't had it in years. So, it's really neat to talk to people and be able to have this experience with folks that can talk about it and can talk about their life and the amount of freedom that they have in their lives. It's just not in the deck for me at this point. And it's not that I like am saying that I'm bothered by that. I'm not. I love my life. I love my kids. I love the life that I have. But I also love hearing about yours. So how cool. Um, let's talk about legacy for a second. I don't know. Well, how do you want people to remember your journey when people, think about you, think about this bus, think about the journey that you're on in your life. How do you want to be remembered?
I hope that it's inspiring for other people to do what they want to do, because a common theme that we hear a lot when we talk to people, Volkswagen or not, is when they find out what we're doing, man, I wish I could do that, or I want to do that. Obviously, like certain situations, it's not in the cards for everybody. I understand that. But if it's in the cards for you, or you can make it in the cards for you, and that's something you want to do, I hope it inspires them to take that next step. And I hope people say, if she could do it, I can do it. Because I'm not really anybody special. If I can do it, a lot, other people can do it as well.
Awesome. Well said. What about the event, the camp out event that you have? What legacy do you hope that event leaves in the Volkswagen community?
I hope it continues bringing people together, because that was really my goal, is like, let's bring us together. I don't want to see this culture die. It'll be interesting to see with the younger generations. I feel like in some sense they're not into cars as much as maybe myself or you were when we were younger, or maybe even like older cars, especially. So I want to like see the culture stay alive. I want to see people continuing this on, hopefully long after you and I are gone.
I talk a lot about that with people, and I always come back to the same conclusion. It's up to us.
Mhm.
It's up to the current enthusiasts now to make this scene, cool to the next generation, to accept them, to make them feel welcome, to teach them all of that stuff. I've got a couple of my kids who, were going to take their driver's license test in my Carmen Ghia, or my one son was planning to take it in my 74 thing, and I wouldn't let them, but they wanted to. And, they've been setting up these shows and doing these events with me for years. They kind of grew up in it. And my son, I just bought him a 2020 GTI MK 7.5. It's a 2 liter, it's a turbo. I'm like, bro, you know how lucky you are?
Yeah.
I had 36 horsepower when I was your age, okay? You got 236 horsepower, right? I'm like, dude. But the cool thing is, he's appreciative. He's bit by the Volkswagen bug as well. He comes out and sets up with me, and he works the Salty Dub table and he sells merch, and he's also seen a lot of these guys in the community. He knows a lot of these buses by name, or the name that they give their bus. And it's just cool. It's cool that he values that. So again, back to what you were saying, it's up to us. It's
Yeah.
up to us to kind of keep that going in them. But awesome to hear. All right. I got some rapid fire questions for you. These are questions that would, in a sense, demand a fast response. I'm not going to detour a story if a story comes of it, but just so you know, they are designed for fast, gut reactions. You ready?
Okay. Yep.
All right. First one, split window bus or bay window bus?
Split,
Of course, you got one.
of
Yes.
course.
Panel or Westy?
Panel. Big surprise.
Listen, I knew it, but I got to put
Yeah.
these in there.
Yeah.
Camping in the mountains or camping on the beach?
That's a tough one because I love both, but I'm gonna go with mountains.
Yeah,
Cools down at night.
yeah, I'm with you. If it was going to be camping, I'd have to say the same. It's the lack of humidity in the mountains and the lack of heat. It's too hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If we're really camping, we don't have AC.
Yeah.
Um, sunrise or sunset at a campsite?
Sunrise.
Cool. National park or national forest?
National forest.
Paved roads or back roads?
Back roads.
Solo camping or group camping?
Group. If it's Volkswagen group.
Favorite state that you visited so far?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Idaho.
Mm. Most underrated place that you've camped? Underrated.
I would say in general, like BLM land.
Okay.
I feel like that's really underrated. If I had to pick one that comes to mind, we were up in Wenatchee National Forest in Washington.
Home of the Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. I think I don't know, 5 people were around within a few miles. Like there was nobody up there. It was awesome.
Favorite meal while camping?
Chili and cornbread.
Ooh. My wife does this killer taco casserole, and it's like taco meat inspired, but it has this cornbread up on top of it. And
That sounds good. Yeah, I just like it's already put together for you.
yeah, exactly. You just cut into it and take your piece and eat.
Yeah.
One tool that you refuse to travel without.
Tool. I would say does a fire extinguisher count?
It does.
That's a tool.
Shit, man. That's a great tool.
Yeah. You can
Somebody said,
find a lot of the other stuff, but if you need that, you need that.
no doubt. Somebody said one time, a positive mindset is a tool. I was like, damn, Steve Jobs, that was a really good answer.
Yeah, that's really good. I was thinking more literal.
Right, exactly. Me too. Sometimes when I ask these questions, but you know, you never know where the guests are going to take them. I love it.
Yeah.
How about favorite Volkswagen generation?
Late 50s or early 60s.
Yeah, sweet. Okay. Most memorable breakdown.
Since I haven't had many, I'll say when my fuel pump went out on I-90.
Right. Knock on wood again too.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we heard that story. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. One person recently that inspires your Volkswagen journey.
I would say Barrett, and I'm trying to remember his last name, Hartman, I want to say. He's the gentleman who puts on Totem, but he also hosts a couple other Volkswagen campouts. So I feel like, first of all, he's kind of like Dave when you meet him. You're just like the energy he puts off, you're like, this is a good guy.
Yeah.
And but then he does so much for the community and what we were talking about a minute ago, like keeping the culture alive by hosting these events. He puts a lot of time and a lot of money putting them on in cool locations and again bringing people together. So I'd say he's very inspiring and he has a bus that he takes and travels like all over in and his is lifted so he can go a lot of places I can't go, but he does some cool stuff.
Okay. Nice. Cool. That is inspiring.
Mhm.
One word that best describes life on the road. Just one word.
Freedom.
Okay. Another one word. One word that describes the Volkswagen community.
Wonderful.
Hey, good one. Okay. I can take it. And that's a wrap for this episode of DubLife Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at DubLife Diaries or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. DubLifeDiaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.